But first, right off the bat, some kind of breaking news. I don't know what you would clarify it as. But the Cleveland Browns have once again restructured yet another big contract. The Browns have restructured right guard Wyatt Teller, creating $9.1 million in cap space. So Tristan, Wyatt Teller joins the list of Joel Bitonio, David Njoku, Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett. Am I missing anybody? There was a couple others, right? Or no?
There
Yeah.
definitely was, but I can't remember them right now either. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we can't remember is kind of an
There's a lot.
indication of
Yeah.
of just how crazy it's been. Yeah, it's been crazy, and you know what I will say about this is you will just make yourself angry listening to national reporters and people who don't know as much about the Browns and specifically the Browns cap space situation by listening to their opinions on the Browns cap situation. Like, certain people have been saying this has to be the year, we're screwed for next year. Oh, we're so God, like, oh, we're gonna be so
Mhm.
next year. Pardon the French. But the reality is you know uh, Quincy Carrier, he dropped a video with Jack Duffin a couple days ago now, and they both kind of went into a lot of the misconceptions that people get when it comes to the Browns cap space, and it's a fantastic video. I recommend you watch it because it will kind of help clear up some of maybe even your own personal questions about the cap. And you know, we are operating as a completely different team to anybody else in the NFL. We're spending on average $50 million more per year than any other NFL team. Than the average NFL team, I should say, than the league average. Um, you know, the cap rules, as I understand it, which is very complicated, but Jack Duffin, luckily, again, great follow Brown's Twitter. Please follow him. He's amazing. He tweeted out before this restructure happened that the Browns' current cap space was $26 million. For next season, we were $25 million over. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, Tristan, why does that matter? I get the numbers are close, but why does it matter? Where it matters is if so the way the rule is, as I understand it, is whatever money that you were under the cap the year prior, you can roll and go over that amount the next year penalty free. So before that restructure, we could go $26 million over the cap next year, no penalties at all. And it would be completely legal to do that. With this additional restructure now, I'd say what we're sitting at about 35 million
I
now in
think
cap
it's
space.
more than
So
that. I think it's like 40s now. I think. I could be wrong.
it's
Yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood between 35 and
Mhm.
40, we'll say. And now for next season, which we're already $25 million over the cap for next year, we can now go $35 million over, meaning that we now have $10 million of cap space for next season. And not only that, but we'll probably end up doing restructures next season to make that number even bigger. So that's part of the reason why it's kind of this ongoing thing. Like, this isn't an issue for us. It's not an issue because of how the Haslams, Jimmy Haslam, D Haslam, how they're investing their money into this team. They're investing bucket loads of cash into this team. And like I said, they are not without sin. They
No
have
kidding.
not
Yeah.
been great owners during their tenure in Cleveland, but you have to tip your hat and you have tip your hat, and you do have to say that they realize how badly this city wants a winning team, a championship winning team, and they are doing everything they can to make it happen. So I just got to say that first and foremost. So, but with that being said, we'll get into the
Mhm.
the season in a bit. But Derek, Wyatt Teller's restructured.
Yeah, so it didn't surprise me. It kind of actually surprised me that it wasn't sooner because when you saw the list of guys, right? Deshaun was a given, obviously $230 million fully guaranteed. Of course, you're going to restructure that. You're going to figure out ways to save on that as much as possible. Miles, yes. Njoku was kind of surprising because it's not like he's getting paid that much money, but just the list of guys you can go down, and Joe Batonio and Wyatt Teller were both paid, right? And that was kind of a surprising move when it happened. But the fact that the Browns have now taken all these big contracts and have said, okay, how can we benefit ourselves while still being able to pay the player, and they're happy and we're happy, right? And they've done this now with multiple different players. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if you saw Denzel Ward next. I have not. Maybe he already was and I just missed it. I don't know, but um, I wouldn't be surprised if you see like Denzel Ward next or somebody along those lines. But you made a point, and I don't want to steal your point. So, everybody, this is him. Wait, here. This is his point. Okay. I think what you said the last time we talked about this, um, the rollover, yes. But what this is doing, like you said, again, you said it, I'm not stealing it. This puts the Browns at a really good point throughout the course of the season. The closer we get to the trade deadline, like you said, if someone comes available, and for instance, Anthony Walker were to get hurt again, right? We saw the Browns go out and trade for Deion Jones last year, and he was okay. He was fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. But
Yeah, no, he was
exactly.
solid. Yeah, yeah,
So again, we're not talking big money here, right? This is not a big uh franchise changing, multiple year changing move that I'm talking about. I don't see that happening. But if someone were to come available at a position of need where there's a possible injury or just not playing up to par, I could see the Browns going out and making a move because this allows you that flexibility. But like you said, at the same time, there's got to be a lot of work done to figure out how you're going to get under the cap for next year, as well as extend guys. There's going to be a couple guys on this team who are younger who are going to want extensions or at least talks of extensions. And before you get into those talks, you want to know what you're working with. You have to be able to know a couple years down the line, what are we looking at? So it doesn't surprise me. But I will tell you, I do think Wyatt Teller will end up being one of the pieces that gets moved off of this team, maybe as soon as this coming off season. So it's a bit interesting. We'll see. But yeah, I think you said it. It's just simply rollover. It's a way to keep this core together, keep this team together, but at the same time, give you a little bit of flexibility throughout the course of the season. That's how I see it. And when you said that, I like thought about it a little bit. I really do see the Browns being buyers at the trade deadline. I think they are all in at this year.
oh yeah,
This season, Andrew Berry is all in. If you get close and fail this year, that's I don't want to say that's acceptable because it's not, but they're going to do everything they can not to fail, is what I'm trying to get at.
yeah. And something else I do actually want to point out as well is, if we are buyers at the deadline, we're not going to buy with ginormous
Mm-mm.
cap hits, at least not that I'm anticipating. We do have the ability to do it. However, the other thing I want to point out is right now we were talking a little bit about the show, about, before the show, about Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones, of course, tweets from Juan Thornhill and who replied to him? I'm trying
Zedarius
to
replied
remember.
to one of them. Yeah.
Zedarius. Yeah. And hinting that Chris Jones could come to Cleveland. And do not get me wrong, I'd be happy with it, but I don't know how we would afford it with being able to have that rollover money
Mm-hmm.
go to next year. Not only that, but the trade value you'd be getting, like, you'd be making a very expensive trade because it's an in-conference team, and you'd be having to sign them to a massive contract. So what I will say is this: I'm not ruling out that we won't buy, and I'm not ruling out that we won't buy a D tackle. However, at the trade deadline, you know, teams, to maximize their value of a player, will sometimes retain the salary. It's very, very rare, but it occasionally does happen. Imagine there's a world where the Browns can find a way to, at the trade deadline, trade for a guy who's going to go one last time, one last ride, and wants to try to win a Super Bowl in Aaron
No.
Donald.
We can't do this. We
I'm
can't
just
do
saying.
this.
I'm just saying. Listen, it makes more sense than Chris Jones now. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but if this team does what I'm going to predict it will
Mhm.
do,
Mm.
we're going to be in a situation where we could buy at the deadline. And that's the type of player where the Rams bought Von Miller from the Broncos. And what was the trade? Like a second round pick, and the Broncos retained some of
Mhm.
Von's salary for it was a 1 year deal. They retained the salary. But, Aaron Donald, it was looking like he was going to retire. And this Rams team is
Mm-mm.
not really
Mm-mm.
legit.
No.
So, um,
Hell no.
it's not looking good for them. But that being said, if they are sellers at the deadline and we are buyers,